What if The Last of Us happened in real life? It started with a cough, just a cough. Then, fever, confusion, paranoia, and finally, silence. Welcome to LumosCurios. Take your Lumos and dive into a world of curiosity, where history, science, and technology meet. We uncover ancient mysteries, explore futuristic innovations, and reveal hidden truths. Imagine waking up one morning only to see the world unravel street by street, city by city, devoured by a fungal infection that turns people into something else. Not dead, not alive, something in between. What if The Last of Us wasn't just a game or a show? What if it was a warning? The Last of Us franchise, both in its award-winning games and the HBO series, paints a terrifying vision of a world fallen to ruin. The cause? A mutated strain of Cordyceps, a parasitic fungus that hijacks the brains of its hosts. In the game, the infection spreads rapidly through bites and spores. Within weeks, the world falls apart. Governments collapse. Cities burn. And survivors are forced into brutal new lives. But is any of this scientifically possible? Could a fungus really end civilization as we know it? Let's find out. Cordyceps is very real. In fact, it's already a zombie fungus, just not for humans. Yet, in the wild, certain Cordyceps species infect ants and insects, infiltrating their nervous systems and mind-controlling their behavior. An infected ant climbs to a high leaf, clamps down, and waits. Then the fungus grows out of its body, like a parasite bursting from within, spreading spores to the colony below. It's gruesome, it's efficient, and its nature at its most terrifying. Scientists have studied Cordyceps for decades. So far, it can't infect humans. But what if it evolves? Here's where science and fiction begin to blur. In The Last of Us, climate change causes Cordyceps to adapt, surviving in warmer environments and infecting humans. Could that actually happen? Fungi are evolving faster than ever due to rising temperatures. According to real-world mycologists, if certain fungal species continue adapting to human body temperatures, cross-species infection becomes possible. Now imagine a mutated Cordyceps strain engineered by nature or bioerror that finds a way into the human brain. Unlike viruses, fungi are harder to treat. Antibiotics don't work. Antifungal drugs are limited. And if it spreads via spores in the air, we wouldn't stand a chance. Now, here's a darker possibility. What if Cordyceps doesn't mutate naturally? What if it's engineered? Multiple governments have explored fungal agents for biowarfare. They're harder to detect, slower to trigger panic, and more stable than viruses. All it takes is one breach in a lab, one vial in the wrong hands, and then it's not fiction anymore. So how fast would it really happen? Day 1. Patient 0 misdiagnosed with schizophrenia. Day 3. Behavioral shifts in family members. Day 7. A cluster of violent attacks in 3 cities. Day 10. Panic buys flood supermarkets. Airports shut down. Day 14. Power grids fail. Day 21. Martial law in most countries. Day 35. Internet down. Day 50. Civilization, as we know it, ends. Let's go back to the moment it started. September 14th, 2031. A bakery in Jakarta delivers bread contaminated with Cordyceps-infected flour. Within 48 hours, dozens are hospitalized. Within a week, thousands are infected. Governments scramble to quarantine entire cities. But it's too late. The spores have already reached airports, food shipments, water supplies. And then, silence. Hospitals shut down, military checkpoints fall. Humanity begins to vanish. Within months, major cities like New York, London, Tokyo, Paris, Moscow are ghost towns. Governments either dissolve or turn into authoritarian regimes to contain panic. Survivors become scavengers. Trust becomes a luxury. People kill for food, or fear, or both. Just like in The Last of Us, the infected evolve. Stage 1. The runners. Freshly infected, aggressive. Stage 2. Stalkers. Hiding in shadows, hunting silently. Stage 3. Clickers. Blind, echolocating, deadly. Stage 4. Bloaters. Monsters armored by fungus. But maybe the scariest part is not them. It's us. Imagine the first winter after the fall. Cities are no longer safe. The silence is pierced only by distant screeches of infected or the crash of looters breaking into abandoned stores. Survivors form small enclaves underground, in forests, in ruins of old malls. Fire is light. Noise is death. Every decision matters. You have 2 bullets, no antibiotics, and someone you love with a fever. What do? You barter. You hunt. You run. And you start to question what survival really means. Is it enough to live? If you lose your humanity? Some people rebuild. Others dominate. Just like Fedra in the game, new military regimes emerge, offering food in exchange for loyalty, ration cards for obedience, public executions for defiance. Others go off-grid, becoming fireflies rebels seeking freedom, knowledge, or revenge. Some worship the infection, believing it to be nature's justice. Others experiment, trying to create immunity through desperate science or terrible sacrifice. And then there are those like Joel, haunted, hardened, and deeply human. When society collapses, what's left of humanity? The Last of Us dives deep into moral decay, how love, loyalty, and grief drive people to unimaginable acts. Would we protect the ones we love at the cost of others? Would we kill to survive? Would we trust anyone again? Science fiction becomes psychology, and morality becomes a memory. Could it really happen? Real scientists agree. While a true Cordyceps apocalypse is unlikely right now, the threat of fungi in the future is very real. Some fungi are already resistant to drugs, and outbreaks are harder to trace than viral pandemics. The truth is, nature doesn't need to be malicious. It only needs to adapt. What if, just like Ellie, someone is immune? Would humanity protect them or exploit them? In The Last of Us, Ellie represents hope but also moral ambiguity. To save everyone, one life must be taken. What would we do if that were real? Could we create a vaccine? Not easily. Fungal vaccines are rare, and immunity to fungi is often genetic, not acquired. Ellie's existence is a miracle, or a mutation, and science rarely offers miracles without a cost. This story, while fictional, mirrors our deepest fears. Pandemics that start small and end globally. Climate change forcing organisms to evolve. Human systems that break under pressure. Our reliance on comfort and our inability to adapt. The Last of Us isn't just entertainment. It's a mirror, and maybe a prophecy. 50 years later, the earth breathes again. Cities are buried in vines. Nature reclaims steel and stone. Animals roam freely. Rivers run clean. But the infected remain, frozen in place. Fungal towers growing from skulls. A museum of extinction curated by a parasite. And if one spore drifts into a new host, it begins again. So ask yourself, if the world ended tomorrow, who would you become? A protector? A predator? A survivor? Or infected? Would you hide, fight, or lead? Because survival is no longer about strength. It's about choices. And in a world where every breath could be your last, what would yours stand for? They say the world ended in fire and blood. But really, it ended in silence, in the space between breaths, in the last goodbye that was never spoken, in the trust broken, and the love lost. The Last of Us is not just a game. It's a question. What remains? When everything else is gone? This was the real-world science and nightmare of The Last of Us. If this opened your eyes, hit subscribe and join us as we explore more truths behind fiction. Comment below. Would you save Ellie or save the world? We'll see you in the next outbreak. Thanks for watching LumosCurios. If you're passionate about history, science, and technology, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more mysteries and discoveries. Have your own theory or thoughts? Drop them in the comments. We'd love to hear what you think. Curious for more? Head over to our shorts and put your knowledge to the test with mind-twisting riddles. Until next adventure, stay curious and always keep your lumos ready.